Hello, peace seekers. This is Saniqua White dropping in to give you a piece of my mind that will hopefully give you some peace of mind. So, today I want to talk about coping strategies or coping skills, whatever you might call them. And I want to ask you if your strategies or skills are positive, negative, or a little of each. So, when I say positive coping strategies, what I'm talking about are things that would not hurt you or anyone else, that also recharges, re energizes, and gives you a boost mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all of those things. So, I think of my positive coping strategies as swimming is my number one, writing is my number two, and then watching the same movies over and over and over again is my number three. And the reason why I do that third one is because it relaxes my brain. I don't have to think at all. If I know exactly what the next scene is or the next conversation is in the movie, I don't have to put any brain power into that at all. And so that is something that just relaxes me so I can go to sleep at night after listening to people's problems all day long and processing and doing all of that. It's something that helps me wind down. So in case you think that's a kind of a weird coping strategy, that is what that one is for. But again, my number one coping strategy is swimming, and my number two is writing. If you know me or don't know me by now, I write books, and mostly I write for my clients. So it's all about mental health. But writing started out being journaling just for me, and then I started writing for other people. Swimming is just for me. It is good for my physical health. I have respiratory issues, so swimming helps my lungs, it helps my whole body. But water is my place of peace. So those are my top three coping strategies. Now, I'm going to list some negative ones as well, because what runs in my family is an underlying root issue of anxiety. And so a lot of my family members also have addictions that stem from that anxiety issue. So we would call that dual diagnosis, meaning they have a mental health diagnosis and a substance abuse issue. None of them are in treatment. None of them pay any attention to that. I do, because I am in the mental health field, and I went into the mental health field because even at an early age, I saw my family going down the drain. So some of the negative coping strategies that people use are also likely possibilities of turning into addiction. So that is alcohol, sex, drugs, shopping, food. Those are probably the top five negative coping strategies that I see people use. And I guess I'll add gambling in. It is a non-chemical addiction, and they don't gamble for fun. I mean, this is gambling like spending your rent money in gambling. So when I ask you, are your coping strategies or skills positive, negative, or a little of each? What I'm asking you is to search, look at yourself, analyze what you're doing. Some of the things you're doing you may not realize could turn into a problem, because anything that can turn into an addiction in and of itself and in moderation or below the level of moderation, it's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of those things. It's just that if you're using that as a coping strategy or skill, that's where you're going to run into a problem, because that is also where you're probably going to run into an addiction, because it is the thing that you're using to help calm yourself or give yourself some peace or numb yourself or make yourself feel better, because they're only temporary. Now, honestly, positive coping strategies can be temporary as well. The thing about them is repeating them doesn't hurt you. Whereas on the negative side of coping strategies, repeating them will hurt you. That's probably the main difference, honestly, if you really consider it. So what I want you to look at as the things that you do, because you may not call them coping strategies or coping skills, but I want you to think about the things that you do on a regular basis where you feel like it's bringing you peace, comfort, or you're really trying to numb yourself from the world's pain, all the darkness that we're living in. I want you to think about whether the things that you're doing are positive, negative, or if you have a mix of each. And what I want you to do is list those out. So grab a piece of paper, get on your phone, your computer, or something. List those things out and put a positive, negative, put a P, an N, or a B. Positive, negative, both, for your list as a whole. And really look at what you're doing. If you can't come up with anything on any side, it's not that you don't have any coping strategies or skills. You probably just don't realize that that's what they are. You may also be operating off of mechanisms. And when I say mechanisms, I mean things that happen maybe without you knowing. Like, take, for instance, the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. If something happens, you probably either do one of those three things to protect yourself. You fight, you flight, or you freeze. Those are mechanisms. Those things engage often without you thinking about it. It kind of just happens. I'm hoping that your coping strategies are not those. They're not things that kind of just happen, but that you are looking at those things and you are consciously doing those things, even if they are negative, because that means you're aware of what you're doing. So think about, what is it that you do when you need to feel at peace, when you need to calm yourself down, when you kind of need to zone out or check out or recover from your day or your week. What is it that you do? Discover and be honest with whether or not they are on the positive or the negative end of things. And when you write them all down or get them all down on whatever you're going to record them on, are you more in the positive, more in the negative, or a little of both? But I want you to get in the habit of, if you have any that are in the negative, checking in on yourself to look at how often you're doing that, if you're actually using it as a coping strategy or a coping skill, and when it's time to replace those negative strategies with positive ones. So again, positive coping strategies are going to be things that you can repeat, that are not going to be harmful for you or harmful to anyone else. The negative ones are going to be harmful for you or someone else, and they're likely on the verge of becoming addictions if they're not already addictions. So do that work. Sound off in the comments if you have positive, have negative, want to change some of those things. Sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this content, remember to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. I'll be back soon. Until then, be proactive with your mental health. Be well, and God bless.